Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to really cut through the complexity and get straight to what matters. And today, we're diving into something loads of us use every single day, maybe without thinking too much about it. Microsoft 365. Our goal here isn't, a dry lecture. We're pulling out the practical, useful bits from the core ideas of Microsoft 365. We're kind of using the MS-900 certification, that's the foundational one, as our guide. Think of it as a shortcut, really, to understanding the essential tools, the principles behind this huge platform, useful whether you're in IT, leading a team, or honestly just curious about how this stuff works.
Exactly. And the MS-900, it provides a really good map for that foundational knowledge. It touches on the breadth of services, how they actually get used. I mean, yes, it's an exam format.
Yeah.
Web-based, usually about an hour, 40 to 60 questions, need 700 points of 70%. Costs around 99 US dollars, give or take, depending where you are. But the real value, I think, is how it breaks down these big, complex topics into essential parts that all connect. It's a solid way to check you got the basics down for the whole M365 ecosystem.
Okay, right. So let's sort of peel back the exam layer then. What are the actual, real-world situations and the key knowledge points we can grab from the kinds of questions that make up this core understanding? Let's get into it. Let's start with something super common. Imagine an organization, maybe growing, needs to get Microsoft 365 apps, Word, Excel, all that onto maybe 500 computers. You definitely can't click install 500 times, right? So you need tools, customization, automation. Within the M365 world, what are the main choices for that kind of large, efficient rollout?
Yeah, good scenario. When you're talking that scale, the two main tools that jump out from the sources are Microsoft Intune and the Office customization tool.
Uh-huh.
And importantly, they're not really separate things you use in isolation. They work together, you see. Intune is your cloud control center for managing endpoints, devices, apps. It's absolutely key for handling installations, settings, updates remotely across all those machines. Doesn't matter if they're in the office, at home, wherever. And the Office customization tool. That's how you build the specific install package you need. You can tweak settings beforehand, decide exactly which apps get installed, manage update channels, tailor it completely to what the organization needs.
Ah, okay. So it's that combination. Intune pushes it out and manages, and the customization tool builds what gets pushed out.
Precisely.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. Think about the efficiency leap there. How does really getting these tools help an organization just scale up software deployment smoothly? It feels like a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. It shifts IT from constantly putting out fires to proactive central management. Once you've got Intune dialed in, your IT team can push security policies, updates, set up new users just so much faster and more consistently. It honestly frees them up. It impacts the whole organization's ability to adapt, especially now with so much remote work. It's fundamental.
Right. That agility is key. So, okay, we've figured out how to get the software onto hundreds of machines efficiently. But then the next big question, particularly for smaller outfits, is making sure they have the right set of tools. Balancing features and cost. This brings us to licensing, which can feel a bit tricky sometimes. So imagine a small business needs the desktop Office apps, they need Exchange Online for their email, and they need Intune for managing devices. Is there one specific plan that bundles all of that together neatly?
Yes, there is. The plan that really hits that specific combination, based on our sources, is Microsoft 365 Business Premium.
Yeah, Business Premium is often the sweet spot for small to mid-sized businesses because of how it bundles things. It's not just a random collection. It feels quite strategic. You get the full desktop Office apps everyone knows. You get the robust Exchange Online for email, calendars, contacts, enterprise level, really. And crucially, you get Intune included for device management and security features. So it gives you that kind of enterprise capability, but without the, let's say, complexity or the typical cost structure of a full enterprise plan. It strikes a great balance for businesses that are growing and need those specific things.
Business Premium. Okay, that makes sense. But let me play devil's advocate slightly. What's maybe the biggest misunderstanding a small business might have about that plan? Or maybe a reason they'd hesitate? Something you'd need to clarify for them.
That's a really good question. Often, businesses might look at the price compared to, say, just buying Office standalone and think, well, that's too much. They might feel they're paying for things they don't need, but the misconception is thinking they're just paying for Word and Excel. The real value, the hidden value almost, is the integrated security and management. Things like Intune, Azure AD features for identity protection. If they tried to piece that together separately, it would likely cost way more and honestly be much harder to manage effectively. So it's really about the total cost of ownership and maybe more importantly, reducing risk. It's not just a feature list comparison.
Right, that totally reframes it. It's not an expense, it's an investment in keeping things secure and manageable as you grow. Okay, let's pivot now. Security. Always top of mind, isn't it? So an organization wants to seriously beef up its Microsoft 365 account protection, stop unauthorized access. What are the top two, like, must-have features you'd absolutely recommend they implement?
Well, looking at best practices for really securing accounts, two things consistently rise to the top: multi-factor authentication, MFA, and conditional access policies. Definitely those two. And they're not just nice to haves, they're pretty fundamental layers in the M365 security model, especially tied in with Azure Active Directory. MFA, most people get the idea now, right? That extra check beyond just your password, something you have like your phone getting a code, or maybe something you are like a fingerprint, adds a huge barrier.
Yeah.
But conditional access policies, that's where the intelligence really comes in. Think of them like smart rules at the front door. They look at the context of who's trying to sign in, from where, on what device. So for example, you could say, block access to sensitive data if someone's on a personal unmanaged laptop.
Yeah.
Or only ask for MFA if they're signing in from an unfamiliar country. It gives you really granular risk-based control. It strengthens security massively, but ideally without making life impossible for legitimate users.
So it's smart security, not just a blunt instrument. It adapts.
Exactly. Adaptive.
That raises a really interesting point, though. In this world where security threats are constant, how do these features, these integrated features, change the day-to-day for users while still boosting safety? Is there a good balance? Can you have both?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The balancing act.
Yeah.
And the key, I think, lies in that adaptive nature you mentioned, especially with conditional access. If you set it up thoughtfully, it only steps in when needed. So it might prompt for MFA or even block access, but only if conditions flag it as higher risk, like that login from overseas, or a device that isn't compliant with security policies. For the average user doing their normal work from a trusted device and location, it can be almost invisible until it detects something fishy. It shifts security thinking from just walls around the network to being aware of the user and context. Much more dynamic.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's shift focus again. Data privacy. Hugely important, getting more so all the time globally. Let's say a user submits a formal request under GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. They want to access their personal data. As the Microsoft 365 administrator, what's the specific required step you have to take within the platform itself?
Right. For GDPR compliance, the guidance is clear. The required action is to create what's called a Data Subject Request case, or a DSR case. And you do that directly inside the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. And doing that isn't just, ticking a box. It's actually really important for staying compliant and showing you've handled the request properly. Creating that case kicks off a structured process within the Compliance Center. It provides tools to help you find the user's data across M365 services, emails, documents, chats, and collect it, review it, and take action, whether that's giving them a copy, making corrections, or deleting it if requested. Crucially, it also creates an audit trail, proof that your organization followed the correct procedure. That's vital for regulations like GDPR, CCPA, and others.
Yeah, that audit trail is key. For anyone dealing with regulations today, knowing these specific steps inside the tools is absolutely critical. It's not just about having the data, is it? It's managing it correctly, transparently, legally.
Absolutely.
The fines for getting this up can be massive, but even beyond that, it's about trust, right? Trust with your users, your customers.
Exactly. And if you zoom out a bit, these data privacy rules are only getting stricter and more widespread. Having platforms like Microsoft 365 with these built-in compliance tools, it's becoming essential for organizations to just function and meet those requirements proactively. It means you can respond efficiently, accountably. That directly helps avoid those big penalties and, like you said, maintains your reputation and that crucial trust.
Okay, let's widen the lens one last time to the real bedrock concepts of the cloud that Microsoft 365 is built on. We hear software as a service, SaaS, thrown around all the time. In the context of M365, what's the clearest way to describe what SaaS actually is and what it means for a business using it?
Yeah, SaaS. The core idea, the definitive description from our sources is this. In the SaaS model, Microsoft handles pretty much everything behind the scenes. They manage the applications themselves, the data storage, and all the infrastructure, the servers, the networks, the operating systems. So what does that mean for you, the customer? It means a huge weight off your shoulders. Your IT team isn't spending time patching Exchange servers anymore, or worrying about database backups, or dealing with hardware failures for these core services. Instead, you're essentially renting access to these services, running on Microsoft's massive, global, secure infrastructure. It frees up your IT people from just keeping the lights on. They can focus on things that add more direct business value strategy, helping users adopt the tools, innovation, not just managing servers.
So it's more than just convenience, like you
Yeah.
said. It's a fundamental shift in where IT effort and money goes.
Exactly.
Businesses can focus on what they actually do, their core business, not the complex IT plumbing underneath.
Precisely. And another huge aspect of the M365 SaaS model is the scalability and the global nature of it. Think about a small startup. They instantly get access to the kind of robust, secure, globally available infrastructure that they can never afford or build themselves on premises. It allows them to scale up really quickly, go from 5 users to 500 or 5,000 without massive upfront investment in hardware. It levels the playing field quite dramatically, letting smaller companies compete effectively using enterprise-grade tools.
And maybe a final thought for you to consider as you think about how fast cloud services digital rules are changing. How might these principles we've discussed, things like intelligent remote management, that adaptive security approach, the absolute need for data privacy, how might they continue to reshape not just our day-to-day digital lives, but also what it fundamentally means for organizations to operate responsibly in the coming years? Something to chew on.